Welcome to Kentucky Bankers Association Vendor Viewpoint podcast, where we bring together Kentucky bankers and our industry's top vendor solution providers to discuss important topics that affect your bank. Did you know that April is National Financial Literacy Month? On today's podcast, we're delighted to have Amanda Rohr, Marketing and CRA Officer with First Kentucky Bank in Mayfield, and Ryan Swift, Vice President of Business Development with EverFi. Amanda discusses the bank's focus on providing financial educations for students in the communities they serve. For over 10 years, First Kentucky Bank has used KBA-endorsed EverFi to sponsor schools, making it possible for online financial education in the classroom. Amanda and Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today. And Selena, I'm turning it over to you.
Hello, audience. This is Selena Parrish, KBA Director of Membership, Products and Services. Welcome to today's KBA Vendor Viewpoint. April is National Financial Literacy Month, and it's a perfect time for us to recognize a KBA member for the outstanding financial education the bank and staff are providing to get more ingrained in their schools and the communities they serve. Amanda Rohr, Marketing and CRA Officer with First Kentucky Bank in Mayfield, oversees the bank's program. Thank you for being with us, Amanda. I can't wait to hear all the great things that you're doing there in your market to provide financial education. Tell us all about it, Amanda.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'd love to share about our program here at First Kentucky. We support financial education in the schools and community in a variety of different ways. And one of the school programs we've been using since 2011 is called EverFi. This program is unique. It offers fun and interacting learning. It covers many important topics like banking, savings, credit scores, investing, and more. And we found that the students in our schools have always responded well because it allows them to play fun games that help them learn hard topics, and it breaks them down so they're easier to understand. And we also, our teachers in the schools enjoy it because it allows students to learn at their own pace. In that they can actually see their pre-learning and post-learning scores, and it shows the progress that the students have made with the program. So we are definitely fans of that. At First Kentucky, we feel passionate about helping young people become financially literate before they enter the real world. And we know personal finance can be difficult to learn, and it's even harder to feel confident about it unless you've had some education to help prepare you. So we feel it is our responsibility to promote and encourage financial education. So we make it a priority to find unique ways to help students become financially literate. We value our role in meeting the needs of the community, and we are always seeking out opportunities that might give us CRA credit in all categories as well, like investments and services. Fortunately for us, all those years ago, KBA, you guys, introduced a program called EverFi, and that was a perfect fit for what we needed. We learned of the potential impact that it can make with this program, and we implemented it in many of our schools, high school and elementary both. And one of the unique ways that this partnership helps is it keeps an open line of communication with our teachers. So we try to have good relationships with them anyways, but this gave us another way to keep that connection and communication going. This allows us the opportunity to visit classrooms to help further explain some of the harder concepts to students, and it lets us support the learning of the students in person as well as online. We truly believe that all adults need to understand the significance of their personal finances and the impact it can have on lives and well-being. Knowing about money management, insurance, credit scores, as well as other financial topics can help them be more successful in life. And being able to learn these topics in school before they hit the real world can truly make an impact on their lives. These are things that they're definitely going to encounter, as an adult once they turn 18 and they have jobs and things like that. So we're happy that, programs like EverFi can help us support that education. Currently, most schools aren't able to cover subjects like this to the scale that they need to be taught, and parents aren't either. A lot of them actually struggle with financial literacy. So that's why I think banks should do their best to help support the financial education initiative in the schools. Banks should encourage young people to have a basic knowledge and understanding of finances because it can give them a leg up in life. And as I said, we at First Kentucky try to support and promote financial education in many ways, but EverFi is one of the ways that we think that we best accomplish this.
Thank you, Amanda. That is tremendous. And with us today, we're so fortunate to have Ryan Swift from EverFi. So, Ryan, all the great things Amanda's just talked about, tell us everything that you all are doing to help promote financial education and how our KBA members get involved.
Sure. Thank you so much, Selena. Happy to be here with you and Amanda. And she's a tough act to follow. She just said it all so really well. And I was nodding my head the whole time, just sort of agreeing with so much that she said there. So it's great to have an incredible partner like Amanda and the team at First Kentucky Bank.
Definitely.
As Amanda mentioned, we were lucky enough to partner up with the KBA, I guess 10, 11 years ago now.
Yes.
I think it was a little bit more than 11 years ago. And EverFi, we founded the organization about 13 years ago with the big idea that we could use technology to scale and measure financial education programs for kids across the country. And that's important to us. So we like to talk about, regardless of zip code, our technology enables us to reach students in schools all over the country and all over the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We began with just high school financial education, a digital course that would be embedded into the classroom, would be easy for teachers to use, fun and engaging, as Amanda said, for the students, but also really importantly, aligned to state standards. So, we had to create a resource and develop this resource that would be valuable for teachers because they have a difficult job. They have a lot going on and it's difficult to ask them to use an outside technology like this. So fast forward to today, we've been very lucky. Our business has grown dramatically across Kentucky and throughout all 50 states here. And we've expanded our offerings. So now we have a full library and a full suite of courses for teachers and educators to choose from. We've got elementary, middle school, and high school financial education courses, as well as what Amanda alluded to a little bit earlier about content that's available for adult learners and college students as well. We've gone deeper with high school students, basically because teachers and educators have asked us to. They loved getting our content. They loved the resource. It's easy to use. They can track and measure student progress. It's a great supplement to what they're teaching the kids in the classroom. But many teachers came back to us and said, hey, we love the financial literacy course, but we want you to go deeper into certain topics. So over the last 3 to 5 years, we've introduced new courses and new content on things around digital and modern banking and identity theft protection, how to think about paying for college and selecting a college or university. Most families just don't really know how to tackle that process. We just released one on basic taxes. So high school kids, they talk about this all the time. They don't understand taxes. They don't understand how to fill them out. They don't know what it means when they get a job and how to fill out that. There are different tax forms when they first begin working. And others. And we're going to be rolling out some content around cryptocurrency and blockchain, which for me as an almost 50-year-old is a little confusing. But I know a lot of young people look at this as sort of the wave of the future. And we also recognize that many financial institutions in Kentucky and beyond are thinking about how do we get involved in this? How do we make sure that we can provide the right sort of products and services to our folks in a safe environment? And ultimately, that's really what our goal has been, to provide an educational resource for students to better prepare them to participate in their local economies, to make important financial decisions that to previous generations, like for me and Amanda and for you, it wasn't always taught explicitly and it wasn't always clear. And I know that when I went off to college and had the opportunity to make some financial decisions, I didn't always make the right ones. So our goal is to better equip these young people so that they can make positive decisions for themselves and really set themselves up for longer term financial health and security. And Financial Literacy Month, of course, is like our greatest holiday. It's something that's very important to us, and we really do appreciate you all shining a light on it today with Amanda and the team at First Kentucky Bank.
And Amanda, tell me, with the pandemic in 2020 and so many of the students going home to do their school online, how did your all's schools handle that? Did you still see them taking advantage of the EverFi program?
Yes, definitely. And as I said, we try to get into the schools, as bankers to go over some of those topics with them. But because of the pandemic, we weren't able to go into the classrooms and many of the schools were closed. So the teachers were kind of scrambling to have NTI courses and stuff. And that's where EverFi fit in perfectly, because most of them had already been using them, engaging them in the classroom. So they were, already had all their stuff set up as far as usernames, passwords, knew what website to go to, that sort of thing. So it gave them some extra curriculum to use while they were, trying to come up with other courses that they could do online. So I think it fit, perfectly.
Definitely. And Ryan, I know you've probably seen a lot of changes with the work that banks are doing in the schools.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Amanda brings up a good point there. On the heels of the pandemic, I think schools were struggling to figure out how to best support their teachers and their learners. And technology suddenly became an important part of that. Thankfully, we had established this large network in Kentucky and had great partners like First Kentucky Bank, who had enabled us to bring the technology to students and teachers who needed it. And it would work whether they were in the classroom or they were doing remote school. I think one of the things that has changed is, how both education at the local level and community banking has sort of come together at this head here in 2022. Most of the community bankers that we work with at EverFi, and we partner with more than 800 financial institutions across the country, are struggling to figure out the best ways to support their communities, right? And you've got folks that are wearing many hats. They run marketing for their community bank, but they're also in charge of CRA and financial education programming. And it's just not easy to do. And it's difficult even for a bank like First Kentucky, who I think serves 6 counties and has more than a dozen schools in their footprint that they're looking to support. And it's hard to get a volunteer out there all the time. And I think what's nice about a program like this, it supports a hybrid learning environment, but also enables a bank like First Kentucky to have or layer a strong foundation of education for students, and then allow the bank employees to kind of pick and choose their spots where they can go in, because it is still so important for folks to go in and volunteer an hour here, an hour there. But I think what Amanda and the team have recognized is that hour here or there is great, but it's not getting enough of what they wanted to. So the technology solution can be on even when the banks aren't there. And that kind of marriage has worked out really well for community banks like First Kentucky Bank and the schools, who are, hungry and thirsty for good technology to engage their 21st century learners, who kind of have a higher bar. It used to be when I was a kid, you'd get a workbook and that would be cool.
Yeah.
But today's kids and today's young people have raised the bar a little bit for how they want to consume knowledge, and they want to receive different educational programs. And so the technology combination with Amanda and her volunteers really works well for the local community schools, and allows, obviously, Amanda and her team the chance to support any CRA requirements that they're working hard to meet as well.
Exactly. And Amanda, tell us about the type of reports that you get from EverFi to help document the work that you are doing, so that you can show the examiners all the great results that are happening from the EverFi platforms that you're using.
Sure. They offer impact reports, and I've always loved these because they're colorful. There's lots of graphs, there's lots of good numbers. I don't know about you all, but I know our president loves data and numbers. So this is something that we can show, that we're truly making an impact. And like you said, the examiners appreciate it as well because it's all laid out for them. So it shows things like their hours of learning, knowledge gains, financial confidence, financial habits. It shows how many of our schools are active. and how many of those are low to moderate income. So, that's the big thing with CRA, is proving that you're giving back to, low to moderate income people. And so with the schools, that number, is dictated by the free and reduced lunch program. And so that's the kind of data that's in those impact reports. And so it just makes it really nice and concise. So like, for example, last year for us, this report shows that we were in 13 of our schools. We had over 1,000 hours of learning, and over 400 students, were included in that. And 9 of those schools were low to moderate income, and over 300 were LMI. So that's the kind of stuff that examiners want to see. And so we've got the hard data to show them.
And I was thinking, as our audience is hearing more about what you're doing there at First Kentucky, thinking back to when you first started using EverFi, what would you recommend to banks when they're talking with their schools, trying to get in there and get more engaged and active? Do you go to the principal? Do you go to a certain department? What was your strategy there at First Kentucky?
Yes. So initially when we started, we typically went to the principal, and then they often referred us to like the math or the business teachers.
Okay.
But if you already had a good relationship with a teacher in a school, you could approach them. But I think the most important part is that EverFi, they have wonderful reps, and they will be like the school contact, but you really need to try to help facilitate it in the beginning until they're comfortable and, know who EverFi is. Just like anybody, you're usually cautious when it's someone approaching you about something that's unfamiliar. And, these aren't always local reps, and so they don't know them, but they know their local banker. And so they're going to trust you and, the fact that you're backing this and offering it to them. And once you tell them, how wonderful it is and how it helps meet their goals for curriculum and testing and things like that, then they don't often say no. So
that's great. Yeah, we want them to say yes. How about that, Ryan? How do you get them to say yes? What's that magic conversation?
I think Amanda really did a nice job talking about it, but it really is a collaborative effort, especially at the early days when we were first beginning our business in Kentucky and looking to help kids and students and teachers all across the Commonwealth. But I think we're always we always want to lean on our local bank partners and say, hey, listen, do you have some folks who work in the school district, or do you know some teachers that you might want to broker an introduction to? But it's not always the case. So as Amanda mentioned, we do have a staff of folks that are full-time EverFi employees. I think 95% of them are former teachers themselves. And the idea is that they're local to Kentucky. They understand the state standards and the requirements and the challenges of being a teacher. And what they do is work with the teachers to identify how to best use a resource like this, while always focusing on the fact that it's a resource that's brought to the teachers at no cost to them or to the local taxpayers or district, because our partners like First Kentucky Bank very generously provide funding so the technology can be provided at no cost. And so I think early on, when some of the administrators, they often say, well, what's the catch? How much are we gonna have to pay for it after the first year is free or no? We say, nope, it's always gonna be free to you because we've got great partners like First Kentucky Bank. And so that's important to us. We wanna make sure that the schools have access to the powerful resource that maps to standards, it's fun, easy to use. And it is private labeled to First Kentucky Bank, so that when students and teachers do log on, they just see that it's brought to them by the folks at First Kentucky Bank. Their logo is there. So it's a nice way to introduce these concepts to them. But working with the local banks is always the best way to introduce the content to the educators and the students. And because of our partnership with First Kentucky and the other banks in in the state, we've been able to build out a nice network of schools, teachers, and students in elementary, middle, and high school that are able to take advantage of our platforms and then better prepare themselves to make good decisions.
That's excellent. And I think you've also had some involvement with our treasurer's office. Have you worked with Treasurer Ball also
we have,
to work on financial literacy?
Yeah, I think she's a tremendous advocate for financial education, and that office has been for a while. And not just in Kentucky, but in several other states, we've found that the state treasurers are a great way to shine a light on this issue, and also not just shine a light on the importance for financial education, but shine a real light on the fact that we figured out a way to bring together a public-private partnership to solve the problem. Because as Amanda mentioned earlier, a lot of the states require that some of the kids have to learn financial education, but unfortunately in most states, it's an unfunded mandate. And so the legislature says you have to teach it, but we don't have any money to support it. And so our ability to pull together this network of partners and form that public-private relationship has been really successful. And that's something that Treasurer Ball really appreciates, so that she doesn't have to spend taxpayer dollars to help solve this problem. And obviously we're not the only solution out there, and there's much more that's happening beyond EverFi to get kids and folks ready. But that public-private partnership is something that the treasurer really is a strong advocate of. So.
Definitely. And there at the bank, Amanda, when you think of the staff that you have on board that are going out and getting engaged with the schools, do you find that's a certain department, or do you just have a variety of lenders and customer service staff? How do you all split up your time to go out and work with the schools?
It tends to be a lot of our retail staff that go out. So they're usually more comfortable, I guess, in the spotlight, and managers and lenders, they kind of live, eat, breathe it a little bit more. So it's easy for them to explain it to others. So we just, like I said, work with the teachers and try to find, a date and time that works well. And if there's a certain course that was a little bit harder for them to, for the students, to learn, that they just want to know more about it, then we can go in there and kind of supplement and give them extra education on that.
That's great.
So yeah.
And I guess the last question I was thinking of is, are you finding in your schools that you work with, Amanda, that it is the math class, or is it a different type of department that you're working with there at the bank?
It tends to be the math or the business. So for us, and initially one of our schools had like a senior focus kind of class, but I don't think as many schools have that right now. But that was kind of, right before you go to college, to the real world, whatever, learn about resumes, learn about financial stuff. So it was a good fit for that classroom as well. But yeah, it tends to be business or math for most success.
Yeah, when I think of where it fits, it's such a life skill that all of us need to get. And sometimes we're not getting it at home, but we need to get it in the classroom. And so it's great to know that EverFi is there to help KBA members. And Ryan, tell our members and listeners the best way that they can get in contact with you or someone at EverFi to schedule a demonstration so they can see how your platforms work.
Sure. Thank you, Selena. And thank you again for including us in the conversation. Really appreciate it. We'd be happy to talk with any other KBA member. They can go directly to our website at www.everfi.com to find additional information about the different resources that we have, or they can reach out to me directly via email at Ryan, RYAN, at everfi.com, and I can help schedule a demonstration or initial conversation to talk about bringing financial literacy resources to communities and across Kentucky. So be happy to do that.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Ryan, for us to celebrate April National Financial Literacy Month. And we greatly appreciate your time and giving us the story on how you're working so hard down there at First Kentucky Bank, Amanda. Congratulations on the success that you're having there in your markets. And until next time, thank you, audience. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Ryan. This podcast is a wrap. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.